Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today I wanted to start by showing you this particular tweet, and I want to make a point because I had dinner the other night with someone who is currently a financial planner, and I want to explain to you the conversation I had, and I want to explain to you how this conversation evolved from him looking at me like I'm telling him about a scam to him looking at me like, ooh, I get it. The switch went off in his head. And the conversation literally went from him completely, you could just see the look on his face like he thought I was just full of it, and it switched. And I want to show you how that relates to your being here, my being here, and why we are so right. And as we go forward, why this is going to be so interesting. But first, the reason I wanted to start with this tweet is because I want you to understand up front. This is what is talked about mostly. If you're in the XRP community and you're in digital assets, we talk all the time about how if a digital asset does not have utility, then it will probably eventually go to zero. But we talk about the price going up in terms of utility. That's talked about all of the time. Okay. Now, and that's what this tweet right here is about. And that's correct. And Brad Garlinghouse himself in this, I'll show you here in a second. Brad Garlinghouse himself says, yes, the value, if it doesn't have a use case, it's not going to go up. But what's not talked about as often is that the fact that once it's decided, and there's not going to be just one, there's going to be several digital assets that have utility. The part that's not really focused on as much that I'm going to talk about today in the beginning of this video is that once it's realized, the ones that do have utility, the speculation and investment when it comes to those is going to go through the roof. And I want to show you how that factors in this, because those of you that don't know, I was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley back in the day. Okay. And so I want to go over, and there's a lot of young people, a lot of newer people who listen to this channel, and I'm going to really round this out for you and let you see what you're a part of. But first, I want to focus on this. Let's get this point across first. This is from Hodl Style. XRP's value lies in its utility as the best asset for payments, not one specific event or rumor. And that's Brad Garlinghouse, 2017. So he's saying if there is no utility, none of this is going anywhere. Okay. But what I'm saying is he's right. But on top of that, once it's understood which digital assets have utility, the speculators and the investors that are watching that, once that's realized, watch the floodgates open. And I'm going to show you how this all works and how it's going to work and relate it to my conversation the other day. It's happening right before our eyes. Pay attention. And this is Brad Garlinghouse, a tweet from August 2017. XRP's value lies in its utility as the best asset for payments, no one specific event or rumor. That's right for the most part. Okay, now they're showing this. This is the liquidity index for Bitso XRP Mexican peso. Many people online have been showing how the liquidity, the volumes are coming up with XRP. In other words, as MoneyGram and probably more companies in the future begin to use on-demand liquidity, it will begin more and more to be seen that XRP actually has utility and a use case, and there's volume going through it. This is only going to go up. So now let's talk about so that goes for XRP. XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created. I've told you that 1,000 times. It is because it's the first one that commercially has really shown that there's going to be utility. But it's not going to be the only one. There's going to be many that have utility. Many on this list are going to have utility. Many are not, okay? There's no question in the world that XRP, Ethereum, probably Bitcoin will be the only one that doesn't actually have utility that is able to go through the door. But let's just take these three just as an example. And let's talk about my conversation from the other night. So I go to dinner, and this guy who's a financial planner, the guy next to him, actually it was the official language snob of the Digital Asset Investor channel, was the one sitting beside him. The official language snob, who has been investing in digital assets since 2013 with me, he told the guy, he said, ask the digital asset investor about, he told me to tell this financial planner about digital assets and what I do. So I was telling him about it, okay? And all of this is against the backdrop of this market that's only at $190 billion, okay? Now, a financial planner, and this is going back to my Morgan Stanley financial advisor days, and I've told this story on this channel a lot, but we have so many new viewers that come in, and young people that need to understand this. This is how the investing world works. Okay, when you become a financial advisor, the way that you're taught is you're taught that there are several asset classes, and different asset classes carry different levels of risk. Life is risk, reward. Okay, digital assets are very high risk, but the potential rewards, as you can look from looking back, when these markets go up, they go up thousands of percent in many cases. Okay, so what I was doing is I was talking to this financial planner, and he's looking at me with the eyes of, so now you're going to tell me about this money laundering scheme, Bitcoin, and all of this. Okay, that's where he's coming from. And so I started going over, I told him, I said, I used to be a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, and I started explaining to him exactly what I'm talking to you about now. I said, well, you know how they train us to talk about how there's when you meet with a client or a potential client, there are asset classes, okay? And I'm going to go through them here. You got stocks, you got fixed income, bonds, things like this, cash and cash equivalents, foreign currencies, real estate, and then commodities. That's really the gist of what they would be. All right. And among these asset classes, the last one that was created would be probably fixed income, which is bonds, which is debt, created by the Bank of England in about 1696 or something like that, as I recall. So I'm explaining to this financial planner, so think about this for a minute. You've got these digital assets, and you've been told that it's all a fraud. Well, I can show you that it's here to stay. There are central banks that are creating their own digital currencies right now. So once you accept that there is going to be this new asset class, now remember, this guy's looking at me, and his eyes are literally clouded over. He's not buying any of this until I get to this one part, and this is the most important part for financial advisors. This is what they care about, okay? And they care about getting paid, which is the most important thing, which I've said a lot, that once they figure out how to get paid, they'll be selling it. But I was talking to him about these asset classes. Now, when you go and you meet with these potential clients, let's say they have $1 million they're wanting to invest, well, you would treat a potential client, you would present to them a model portfolio for them. Now, if they are 30-year-olds that have just gotten married and they've both got jobs and they've got a baby on the way, they would be more heavily weighted towards things like stocks, okay, which is a higher risk. But if you're meeting with someone who is 50 years old and getting closer and closer to retirement, you would weight their portfolio in less risky things like bonds, and they would begin to think about income producing type things, okay? Now, assets and asset classes there's a thing that is called correlation. And the reason that you're spreading your clients' money across different asset classes is because the different asset classes are what's called non-correlated. In other words, if bonds go up this year, stocks may go down this year. And so it balances their portfolios. Well, when you balance these portfolios and what they're trying to achieve, what a financial advisor is trying to achieve with your assets over time, is they're trying to achieve an overall X% return over time, or on the average. They want to, and it could be, 5 to 6, maybe if you're lucky, 8. But over time, they want to achieve those kind of returns. Well, so at this point, I'm talking, and what you're looking at here, this is an actual chart that Morgan Stanley provided these charts for us, and we would show these to a client. And I would say to a client, okay, I want you to look across these years, 1999 to 2018, and look at how the different asset classes have performed over this period of time. Emerging markets did the best in 1999. Commodities did the best in 2000. Real estate investment trusts did the best in 2001. 2002, commodities did the best. 2003, emerging markets did the best. REITs, and then so on. U.S. stocks in 2013 did the best at 32%. And then I would look at that client and I would say, now listen to me. The reason that we want to balance your portfolio across all these is because in any given year, stocks are going to do better, or emerging markets or real estate is going to do better, or commodities are going to do better. And so if we balance these across these, then it protects you, and it is a smart way to allocate your portfolio over time. So I'm talking to this financial planner at dinner, and I look at him and I say, so income digital assets. Not all digital assets, but the digital assets that are going to be seen to have real use, utility, including the greatest digital asset ever created, XRP. And I told him, I said, now look, do you think that the financial advisors and all of these investment banks across the world are going to ignore, even in this year's market, Bitcoin has outperformed any of the assets in the world, okay, at over 100%, okay? And that's in this depressing market that you were all in and you're all so depressed about, okay? Even in that market, I said, what you're looking at, and this is when the lights went on in this financial planner. I said, now you think about this. We have digital assets that is a non-correlated, and this is the magic words, is a non-correlated asset class that now will be in the mix of these. And every financial advisor and every financial planner, including you, and I pointed at him, I said, including you, is going to do this. And I was talking about this. So if you look at the asset classes in trillions, real estate has 217 trillion. Global debt, bonds, 215. And these numbers could be a little off, out of date. But look, cryptos are way, way, way down here. Okay. Cryptos have not even gotten started. And more importantly, cryptos have not really consolidated into the ones that are going to be the ones that actually have use cases. Okay. That process has kind of begun, but it's got a lot further to go. But what all of us that are in this market, we know very clearly at this point that XRP is the greatest digital asset ever created. And it is one of the only digital assets that currently has use that's happening right now and growing every day. And so the moral to this story is that this financial planner, at the end of this conversation, once I said that digital assets are going to be a non-correlated asset class, okay, just like all of these others, they're not correlated with each other. And this presents tremendous opportunity, okay? Now, this non-correlation, what it means, and what I've said for a long time, what it means is that as we go forward, once it's determined which ones of these, which it's already been determined for XRP, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Once it's determined which ones are going to have the use case, they're going to be put in investment vehicles that you can't even imagine. It's being done right now. And as this market finally takes off, and it will take off, when this all happens, when it goes down, when it finally goes down and starts to accelerate, you're going to have, and I told him this, you're going to have anywhere from 0.5% on up to probably 5% in digital assets with use case. And it's going to comprise the portfolios not of some, but every retail and institutional investor in the entire world. And that is on top of the utility for XRP. Okay, that's on top of that. So if you're sitting around and you're looking at the market and you get all, I'm not going to go there yet, but if you're looking at like the markets and you're getting all depressed, if you're looking at this that I'm showing you right here, and this upsets you, what you need to, not only utility is what you need to be focusing on, maybe even bigger, what you need to be focusing on is, hey, this is the first new asset class since the creation of bonds in the 1600s, and there is only $191 billion in this. And in real estate alone, there's 200 and something trillion. Stock market, 70 plus trillion. Okay. And when you have a non-correlated asset that has been created, when you have a non-correlated asset class that these financial advisors can look at and say, oh, now I have a new option for further helping my clients diversify, it's going to change the world. I want to end this video by showing you a quote from one of the smartest men on the planet that's ever been on the planet, that is, Winston Churchill. Things are not always right because they are hard. But if they are right, one must not mind if they are also hard. And that is so true. Yes, it is so hard for you to be in digital assets right now. What you need to do is look at this as the opportunity. If you can't stomach the buying the dips anymore, don't. Hold it, put yours on a Ledger Nano OS, which you can find in the description of every video I've ever done. Hold it and just keep learning more about digital assets so that you're aware of the opportunities that are cropping up. Now, I want to finish this video by telling you about this. Our Patreon group is performing remarkably for several reasons. Recently, we began to take all the videos that myself, Mr. B, and Brad Combs do, that you can watch. I do 2 videos every day for free that you can watch on YouTube. They have ads. If you want to watch them without ads, you can watch them in our Patreon group, which has done terrific. I mean, it's really unbelievable. We're crossing over 400 patrons right about now, and we'll be to 500 in no time. So if you haven't gotten in until we get to 500, you can get in for $3.99. Then it becomes $4.99 a month from then on. But it is like unbelievable how fantastic it has gone so far, and it's only going to get better. And I want to tell you all, here's what we're about to do in the Patreon group. My friend, the official language snob of the Digital Asset Investor channel, this is the first he wanted to be in live stream. We're going to do people like that, but we're also going to do high-profile CEOs and different people like that. But he wanted to do it first because he's got a story to tell. In 2013, the official language snob of the Digital Asset Investor channel invested $50,000 into cryptocurrencies. And he wants to come on and he's going to tell that story with Brad Combs and Mr. B and myself in the Patreon group. And he's going to do it live. And he wants to tell everybody what happened to him. And the story is unbelievable what happened to him. And you will be amazed. Imagine what it looked like. And he's going to tell you, he's going to run some numbers in front of you too. Imagine what $50,000 invested in digital assets looked like, or would have looked like, if you had that and then you went through the 2017 bull run, what that amount of money, and we're going to unveil what that amount of money would have looked like. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button and tell your friends and family. Things are not always right because they are hard. But if they are right, one must not mind if they are also hard. And that's from Winston Churchill, one of the greatest leaders in the history of the world. Thank you for listening.